The state of the NBA is in a strange place right now. We're dealing with the constant Woj bombs that are alerting us of which teams are going to be missing which number of players through virus protocol, which is leading to some very, very questionable lineups. However, in the most recent Golden State game, it wasn't a result of virus protocols that led to the Warriors fielding a team without their 5 best players. It was a cautious approach taken from Golden State to keep their best players fresh and out of harm's way. A luxury they have because of the start to the season in which they have been the best team in the NBA throughout. Whilst a lot of people probably saw the names missing against Toronto, in particular one Stephen Curry, and elected to not pay attention to the Warriors game, I saw this as a huge opportunity for 2 players in particular. 2 players that have shown in flashes why the Warriors drafted them in the lottery of last year's draft, and whilst Moses Moody showed some good signs, if there was one takeaway from a blowout loss to the Toronto Raptors, it was Jonathan Kuminga. Yep, that's right, Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga, ladies and gentlemen, is the real deal. He is the real deal. Now, before I talk about his game against Toronto in particular, because in his first start as a Warrior, he did not disappoint. Trust me on that. Let's just understand what makes Jonathan Kuminga so special, because we've seen it now that this man, he has some serious potential. Coming out of high school, ESPN's top 5 players were listed as such: Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jonathan Kuminga, and Scotty Barnes. Now, 4 of these guys have something in common. Green, Cade, Mobley, and Barnes all went in the top 4 of the draft, whilst Kuminga was picked up by the Warriors at number 7. And it's fair to say Jonathan Kuminga was a very polarizing prospect coming out of the draft. After choosing to spend a year with the G League Knight, he did some things like this.
Like Dad.
Just like Dad.
Here's the steal into the open floor. Kuminga the win.
On a regular basis, he was showing off the potential that he had as a 6'7" freak athlete with the lateral quickness to stay in front of guards and the length to match up against bigger wings and forwards. Not only that, but also the rare combination of size, speed, and ball handling on offense, paired with some touch from all 3 levels, which was all enough to have people questioning just how good he could be. However, he also shot under 40% from the field and just 25% from 3. You had some people who anticipated him being the biggest bust in the draft and someone that would never figure it out, and then you had others who thought he would be an absolute stud and use all of his tools to the best of his advantage. Luckily for Kuminga, well, he found the perfect place to be drafted. Low expectations, incredible coaching, incredible veterans, and a development system that had just recently turned Jordan Poole from the worst player in the NBA to one of the best young guards in the league, and someone that is only getting better and better. And once Kuminga got drafted to Golden State, let's say it didn't take long to show off some of the potential he had. However, as we know, the Warriors are pretty good. They're pretty good. And they brought in some pretty good veteran guys, which meant the minutes were always going to be sporadic for him at the NBA level. After all, he was a high ceiling guy. However, even in those sporadic minutes, we once again saw the glimpses, whether it was taking a player off the dribble and gliding to the rim, switching onto positions and looking like a Swiss Army knife on defense, or the occasional pass off the dribble that showed he could be more than just a defensive stopper with a pretty handle. These things were just enough for those paying close attention to realize he could be something pretty special, but that's all it was, just glimpses. So that brings us to Golden State versus Toronto, and why I was very excited to see this game. Because despite the names missing in action, all I really wanted to see was Jonathan Kuminga in his first NBA start with opportunity and a license to play the way we know he can play. He did not disappoint. He did not disappoint. 26 points, 2 steals, 9 of 15 from the field, and 4 of 6 from 3. Now, he had a few turnovers this game, some of which were his fault and some of the others were just a result of who he was playing with, but let's focus on the positives because there's 26 reasons to be excited if you're a Dubs fan. The first thing you notice with Kuminga, and we've seen it before, but getting to see a full game of it is just different. He is a ridiculous athlete. Playing against a Raptors team with some really good defensive players and some really good athletes in their own right with OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes, Kuminga looks like the smoothest athlete out there. Every time he wanted to get downhill and attack the rim, he was able to do so. Even when he didn't finish, his first step and burst of speed allowed him to blow past numerous defenders on numerous different occasions. Here he is getting a dribble handoff from Kevon Looney, and once Kuminga sees Boucher in front of him, he accelerates and gets straight to the rim. I think this is going to be a way of consistent offense for Jonathan Kuminga early in his career, getting those dribble handoffs, and when you see a center in front of you and your name is Jonathan Kuminga, you're just attacking him and you're getting downhill because you are not getting stopped by someone like Chris Boucher. Let's be honest, because in another example, another big switches onto him, Precious Achiuwa, and it's just the same result. One thing you notice immediately, if a big tries to switch onto Jonathan Kuminga, just forget about it. Just forget about it. You are not staying in front of someone with that kind of explosiveness. And like I mentioned, even when he missed, he was getting to the rim at will, and that is only going to get better as he gets stronger and more explosive. However, that's not even mentioning the best part of his performance. That was the three-point shooting. Yes, Jonathan Kuminga's three-point shooting was the best part of his performance against Toronto because he shot 4 of 6 from 3. He was stepping into threes with confidence, hitting threes with defenders in his face. He looked poised, he looked comfortable and confident shooting the three ball. And if that is going to be consistent, if he is going to continue to shoot the three ball with poise and confidence, just forget about it. Just forget about it. You are not stopping Jonathan Kuminga if he can shoot the three ball, and we already know what he can do getting downhill. You know what's crazy though? This is not the first time the Warriors have rested Stephen Curry and Draymond Green this season. A few weeks back against the Detroit Pistons, Golden State rested those two guys as well. And they're not only one, but the other member of this young core that is looking more and more ridiculous by the week. Jordan Poole dropped 32 points on 60% shooting. Just a reminder, this is the same 22-year-old Jordan Poole that Bleacher Report had 26th in their 2019 redraft, which was published before the season started, and people still seem to be unable to fathom that Jordan Poole is still so young and is still improving so rapidly. So this means in 2 games this season in which Stephen Curry and Draymond Green have been missing. The 2 most exciting pieces of the young core, not counting James Wiseman, who is obviously injured right now, but the 2 most exciting young pieces right now have combined for 58. That's right, 58 points on a combined 22 of 37 from the field and 8 of 14 from 3. Let me just remind you guys, the Warriors have 2 guys that can go off for these kind of performances when their star players are resting. 2 guys that are only going to get better, and this is without mentioning the 2nd overall pick from last year's draft. Oh, and Moses Moody as well, who knocked down a couple of threes and looked pretty good. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more for me to say. Jonathan Kuminga showed exactly why we're very high on him, and the Warriors have done it again.